The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Hey! A triple feature, 3 films up on the screen. One's a little heavy, one's a little sleek, and one's just caught between. We'll laugh and cry and overanalyze, dig through fleams with wide, wild eyes. Grab some popcorn, take your seat. 3 times the fun, 3 times the treat. Hey, a triple feature. That's what we're here to do. What we're here to do. Buckle up, the lights go down, and we'll watch them all with you.
Well, folks, Black History Month is coming to a close as of today in the year of our Lord, February 28th, 2026. Gosh, do you remember when we would watch movies as a kid, Evan Bevan's Good to His Mother Some Language? And it was the year 2026. It was the year 2032. It was the year 2025. It was the year 2015. When all those years sounded so far in the future that it was entirely possible an irate AI with a robot army would kill everybody.
But that's not going to be until at least 2027.
Yeah. I was texting with the ex yesterday, as I am wont to do, and I realized that my son is class of 2032. That's in 6 years.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
You're correct.
Right? We're living in the future, Evan Bevins. The horrible, horrible future. I mean, I guess at some point we're going to have...
nice when Brad Paisley sang about it.
The thing of it is like, I know that this is like the shitty years before the eugenics war, and then we have then we just discover warp drives, and then we invent the Federation. I know that. I know that the Federation years are coming. But it sucks to live in the years that like were horrible, that the Star Trek officers look back on and go, yes, those were grim times.
Yeah, is that before or after we all have to get on the train?
That's a different universe.
Oh,
my bad. So this is Evan Bevins, and he, of course, is the hardest working black man in the history of film. How do you feel about closing out Black History Month? That's normally Jason's job. Jason is my Black History Month guy in our series of two middle-aged white guys talk about black film. But here you are providing like the encore performance.
The perspective of another middle-aged white guy.
Yes, we are all about inclusiveness on the Radulich Broadcasting Network. We have one girl.
Has Jason lodged a complaint with HR yet?
Yeah, he doesn't want to have to share his time with me ever.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, I mean, we could pretend this is March.
No.
Yeah. I just want Jason to know, all I said was, hey, Mark, we ought to talk about Meteor Man.
Yeah, never ask me to do anything, because inevitably whatever request you give me, because cats run into the same problem. Hey, I want to talk about this movie. One movie? We got to make this part of a series somehow. And it's like, I just want to talk about one movie, psycho. No. 3 movies. That's the key.
Well, or there was the time that you did a triple feature entirely based on my suggestions, and then I had to work, and I couldn't be there. So,
yeah, then there's that. Because that's not a common thing that happens to me. Hey, we're talking about Robert Townsend to round out the 2026 Black History Month series of podcasts that we've done. And he is I'll read my intro in a second, but he's a writer, director, producer that's in part responsible for the Keenen Ivory Wayans empire. That he is what brought the Wayans family in many ways to the big screen. That's what led to them getting on In Living Color. getting a show called Living Color, and Living Color kind of launched that family into mainstream film. How familiar are you with Robert Townsend?
Pretty much only from Meteor Man, if I'm being honest.
Okay, I'm going to put you on hold, and I'm going to read my introduction here, and then I'm going to ask you some questions about that. So, as I said, Robert Townsend is a filmmaker, actor, and independent architect of the late 20th century black cinema who proved you didn't have to wait for permission from Hollywood to tell your own story. Frustrated by typecasting, he financed and co-wrote Hollywood Shuffle, which we'll talk about momentarily, in 1987 on credit cards, building a sketch-structured satire that exposed casting as economic coercion. Featuring early appearances from comedians like Keenen Ivory Wayans, it became a blueprint for media self-critique. The Five Heartbeats, 1991, Townsend shifted to music melodrama, chronicling the rise and exploitation of an R&B group. Though modest at the box office, it became a generational cult classic about contracts, ego, and ownership. Then came Meteor Man in 1993, one of the first black-directed superhero films centering on community empowerment over lone wolf dominance. Across genres, Townsend's legacy is infrastructural. Independence, authorship, and the fight to control the image. So, other than it was like on the list of things to talk about that are comic adjacent, what was the big hubbub to talk about Meteor Man?
Well, Meteor Man came out in a time that I've probably talked about before, where outside of the occasional Batman movie, and I think we were past Batman Returns, so we were careening into chaos there. There weren't many superhero movies to watch, so I clung to any of them I could find. I still don't own, but I probably rented enough to pay for them both many times over, the Captain America movie starring Ned Beatty and J.D. Salinger's son,
Yep.
and Return of Swamp Thing, starring Heather Locklear and Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
Those are not great movies, but I watched them over and over. Meteor Man, I think I actually read the comic first.
Do you really like superheroes? Is that your thing? Like superheroes, that's what you're into?
I do. Have we not talked about this before?
No, I was not aware that you were into superheroes. Like I knew you read comic books, but I figured, like pulp mystery novels and stuff. I didn't realize you were a superhero genre aficionado.
Yeah, well, I mean, you don't ever let me talk about superheroes. You're like, hey, let's do this indie comic with no dialogue where an assassin sleeps with a bunch of people and kills random folks.
Yeah. I like you better that way.
This guy with a cape? No. History of violence. Go.
Yeah. It's not that you haven't approached me and said, "Can we talk about Iron Man or Batman?" No, Evan, you must talk about indie comics nobody read that turned into movies nobody watched. That's where I need you.
And so then I thought, well, hey, what about Meteor Man? And you said, sure, as long as we tie it into Black History Month and society and, culture and things like that. And I'm like, I like the cape.
And Evan said, God, is there anyone else I could podcast with besides Jesse?
and they all said no. So here I am.
Yes. Sir.
So I don't think I saw Meteor Man in the theater. I got the 64-page Marvel adaptation, which I'm holding up for the audio audience.
Nice.
And that's, I think I rented it 750 times, and I owned it on VHS, and then somewhere along the way I found it on DVD. And at first it was just, hey, here's a superhero movie. And we didn't have a lot of options for those. Thing is, this one's good I guess we'll get into that later, but I liked Meteor Man. I own Meteor Man. I thoroughly enjoy Meteor Man. And one day I hope to find all the comics in the Marvel series. I have issues 2 through 5 of a 6-issue series.
What's funny about Meteor Man is that it's entirely an invention of Robert Townsend. Mm-hmm. Its connection to comic books is kind of like what we talked about, I think, with The Fountain, or something else that we talked about recently, where the movie came out first and then the movie was adapted into a comic book.
Yeah.
Or there was like a novelization via comic book format of said movie. So like Logan's Run, except for the part that had Thanos in it for some weird reason.
It was a backup story.
Okay. I remember Logan's Run, that was a novel, then became a movie, and then the movie was adapted into a comic book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they threw a backup story in that had Thanos in it. That's like and Drax. It's like super popular and hard to find. And then I think they went 4 issues past the movie story, but did not last as long as their Star Wars series.
I was gonna say, and Star Wars is probably one of the more popular versions of that, where obviously George Lucas had a treatment for this ridiculous movie, and then he was like, "Well, this is going to be 300 hours long, so maybe I'll just make the middle of it, and I'll do the ending that I had intended in the middle, and it'll be fine." Hey, we're gonna need 12 more of these pictures. Well, fuck. So, but that, including the well, fuck part, is they took George Lucas's 1977 Star Wars movie and turned it into a comic book.
Yeah, that's why we have a 6-foot-tall green rabbit named Jackson and a guy who is pretty sure he's a Jedi named Don Quixote.
That was a big thing. Is that still a thing now? Are we still taking movies and making them comic books, or is it that did that die with the platypus?
Not nearly as much. I mean, there are some adaptations or spin-offs, but it doesn't seem to be as common these days. I mean, they're churning out Godzilla comics faster than you can churn out Godzilla movies and TV series these days. He's crossing over. Well, you've done some of those crossovers, and the cool thing about Meteor Man is that he is technically a part of the Marvel universe, just like NFL Super Pro. They just can't use him anymore. But he met up with Spider-Man, and of course that icon of 90s comics, Night Thrasher.
Wonderful. All right, let's start at the beginning here with Hollywood Shuffle. Now I know this is where you can weigh in on what it's like to be a black man in Hollywood, to only get certain kinds of parts, and that's really what Hollywood Shuffle was talking about. Robert Townsend wrote and directed this movie, kind of in the same way that Kevin Smith did Clerks, where he just like self-financed it, and it became like his big gateway into Hollywood mainstream. When Robert Townsend and His Partners in Crime, which was an HBO comedy special, the first thing he said was, Hollywood Shuffle was a big success for me, and it opened a lot of doors. So without Hollywood Shuffle, we probably don't have the Keenen Ivory Wayans empire. We don't have a lot more Robert Townsend. I think the world of black cinema is somewhat changed, because at the time that Robert Townsend is doing this, I don't think we yet have Spike Lee. John Singleton's going to come along in a little bit. So Robert Townsend, I have to go back through my notes again, but I feel like Robert Townsend was like just black enough to be authentic, but not so black as to scare the white folks off. he was really like gateway Afrocentrism, which was nice at the time. So Hollywood Shuffle is a sketch comedy movie, essentially. There's a loose thread of Robert Townsend being an actor, going out on auditions and trying to get a part in a movie. The part in the movie is he's a jive soul bro. And he's always lying to his
Jive
friends.
Time Jimmy's Revenge.
Yes. I was doing Slick there from the WWE. You're a jive soul bro. You're a jive soul bro. And you're always lying to your friends. Should I keep going?
Yeah, it's your show,
Hakeem, the African Dream.
I remember you said you had all the time in the world today. So
yeah, I have like 5 hours to do this. That's a good time.
Let her rip.
I'll
just sit back and enjoy.
Excellent. Listen to me. So yeah, he's doing a blaxploitation movie, and his grandmother's just like, hey, maybe don't sell out the black race for money. I'm just gonna throw that out there. He's like, but that's all there is. It's either this or be a slave. And he's got a little brother, and the little brother looks up to him. He's got a girlfriend, and he's just trying to be an actor in a market that pigeonholes blacks into 2 roles. Jive soul bros and slaves.
Or butlers,
yeah. Along the way, like I said, we kind of follow him. He's got a job working at a wiener stand, and of course, Keenen Ivory Wayans and the other fat black comic that are there, and John Witherspoon, who owns it, are all like, you ain't gonna be nothing. You're gonna sell hot dogs for the rest of your life. Be good at selling hot dogs. Don't try to better yourself, black man. Because there's that sort of thing happening at this time. And the rest of it's just sketches. There's a sketch about like black acting school, and it's like, here we'll teach you how to walk black and talk black.
Where all the instructors are white.
Yeah, where all the instructors are white. And Robert Townsend does like a half a British accent. There's there's a sketch about where he's doing like gritty crime noir. What were the other
Yes, Death
sketches?
of
Do
a
you
Break
remember?
Dancer.
Death of a break dancer. Do you remember the other sketches?
Let's see. There was there was, I forget what it was called, but there were the movie reviewers who I noticed did not
Oh,
really focus on craft.
yes. There was there was the early structure for what would become like the two gay guys reviewing movies on In Living Color. It was like two black guys sneak into a movie, which I thought was hilarious. So anyway, I like Hollywood Shuffle. It's it's very cute. You know, like watching it with 2026 eyes and decades worth of black cinema and commentary about Hollywood and a black man's place in it. Watching it back now, I'm like, okay, so Robert Townsend was somewhat ahead of the curve here. Definitely, he was definitely before his time. He is definitely a much more palatable version of like a Spike Lee, or a John Singleton, like I said before. I it's I don't know if I show a lot of old movies to my kids so that they can have a good cultural upbringing, and I don't know if I would show them this one. But I was amused by it. What did you think of Hollywood Shuffle?
Oh yeah, I definitely thought it was funny, and I mean, I recognize some of the themes, obviously. Um, so sorry, I just got distracted by a comment.
Yes, I
Live, I don't know
keep
how to.
going. We'll address the comment
No,
momentarily.
I no, I did enjoy it. I had not heard of it before. And the funny thing was, I went into it thinking Eddie Murphy was in it, and that wasn't a joke. I think I ended up getting it from the library, and it had Eddie Murphy somewhere in the description. Of course, that was one of the sketches. Was we need an Eddie Murphy type, and it was Robert Townsend and 9 other guys doing bad Eddie Murphy impressions.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I mean, I and it was kind of interesting with the first one, the black acting school one. I mean, it really went from like, oh hey, this guy's an actor, and this is kind of, to just full on like, you know, dialing up the tropes. Sorry to say racist tropes, but it wasn't. It was making fun of racist tropes, or pigeonholing these actors, and even the idea that some of them had to be taught because maybe some of them weren't the black stereotype that the white casting director and writer and director were looking for.
Yeah,
So
so I want to address this comment, but then I got to talk about the scene at the end of the movie. From at the shop that bops, I'll bet it does bop, pal. My father was a lead actor in blaxploitation movies. That is what you did to make money back then. Yeah, no doubt. I'm not the one. I didn't make this movie. I am a connoisseur of blaxploitation movies. Many of them, as a matter of fact. A couple of Black History Months ago, we did a whole thing on blaxploitation movies, and then the following year, we just focused on Pam Grier. So trust me, I get it. And think, look, I think get a panel of like sexy women together and a panel of black actors, and I think they would all say the same thing. We sometimes do things that we don't particularly want to do, or make us uncomfortable because that's where the money is. Sometimes you take enough shit, you can gather the cachet and the money to do your own thing. Certainly, plenty of actors have done that.
yeah, and I mean, I think it recognized that in the movie, that it wasn't saying that everybody who did that was wrong, but it did play up the one guy that kept trying to guilt him out of the role he ended up getting, and then all of a sudden, as soon as he quit, he was like, "Oh, I'll do it."
Yeah. So I want to talk about that scene. So there's a couple of things going on in this scene. They shoot a scene in the movie where somebody in Jive Jimmy's gang gets shot, and Jive Jimmy comes out, and he has got the most effeminate walk you've ever seen, and he's got and this is Robert Townsend, who he's got a bit higher register in his voice, but I would not call him effeminate. But but in that scene, he is like turn the knob up and rip it off to 10, where he's like walking on his toes, and he's like, "Oh lordy," he's like way effeminate. And I was in my notes, I was noticing, and it made me think of something that Cat Williams said. I don't know how familiar you are with Cat Williams, but I'll link this in a second so I can get through this. I was noticing like how queer coded a lot of stereotyping of black men is. Like and because he comes out and he's like really effeminate, and the director's like, "Can you be more black?" And Robert Townsend like go, and the thing of it is just like you could interpret black personage as being, very tough, menacing, or you can turn it the other way apparently, and being more black is to be more queer. And so Robert Townsend turns up the queer. He's like, oh, and the director's like, yes, and the poor grandmother and the kid are looking at him like, yeesh, and so he quits. But I was like, I never thought, until I watched Hollywood Shuffle, I never really thought about the feminization of black men in film. Just never occurred to me. And then I remembered something Cat Williams said about the humiliation ritual that black men have to go through in order to get to be like made actors. He was, he talked about like black men wearing dresses, and like, look, there's a whole other topic about drag in popular culture that I don't really feel like having right this very second. We'll save that for June during Pride Month. But it's one thing to be like, hey, drag has always been and always will be a part of culture, mainstream or otherwise. So putting a black guy in a dress is a part of drag culture. Cat Williams interpreted it as a humiliation ritual of, this is how we're going to make you palatable to the white masses who really don't want to be menaced by black people. So instead, we'll throw you in a dress, completely emasculate you, and now white people will see you as palatable, and we can get you more parts. And he talked about, this is Cat Williams, not me. He did a whole thing on Club Shay Shay where he talked about this, and it was all over TikTok for a while. So that's what I thought about when I watched that scene. You never see things the way that I do. So here you go. Here's your opportunity to tell me what you thought about that scene.
I mean, clearly, despite my great experience as a Black American, I was kind of caught off guard by that. I mean, because before you even see anything in the movie, you hear him rehearsing Jive Time Jimmy's lines, and I was like, I guess I can see that, but I like that. How to say this without that wasn't my idea of a black stereotype.
Okay,
but I mean, clearly Robert Townsend would know more about Hollywood's view of that in the 80s.
Robert Townsend had a different experience.
Yeah, it is entirely possible that Robert Townsend had a different experience than me growing up in Southern West Virginia.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying I'm like, well, that's crazy, Robert Townsend, you're wrong. I'm just saying I didn't recognize that, and I did not really think of it the way you did. But I mean, what I got from it was just, okay, so the white director, the white casting director, and the white writer, whose name I had to write down because it was apparently Mandrill Man Vacuum.
Yes, sir.
Which I'm going to do you a favor and not talk about the Marvel character, the Mandrill. But
please, Evan, we're in a rush here.
So I've heard. But yeah, it was just, I mean, I got that, the idea that the white guys are telling him how to be black.
Yeah.
But and
a very specific kind of black, because again, look, there's no one kind of white person. There's no one kind of black person. I think that's fucking hot take, right? But
it should be.
but that's the whole point of that scene that that's a subtext of that scene that Robert Townsend's talking about. And if you don't like this, watch American Fiction, where Jeffrey Wright is talking about there is more than two kinds of black people in this world. Why are we reducing black people to just either ghetto people, or I can't remember what the other one he says, or whatever. But that's what American Fiction talked about. That's what Bamboozle talked about, and it's what Hollywood Shuffle is talking about. I'm starting to see a pattern.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't have a disagreement with you there.
You're wrong. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It's and what I was trying to get at, and I can't figure out the right way to say it, is.
Oh, just say it racist. It's fine.
No. There's nothing subtle about this movie, nor was it intended to be. But I don't know. At no point did they say, well, the problem is that white people tell us how we should be black. They just showed it in the most ridiculous way possible. But I mean, that I had no trouble, understanding what the point was. And I'm the guy who came out of Starship Troopers going, gosh, those people were kind of mean.
Just so we can move on to the Meteor Man, which I know you have more to talk about. Like I said, I liked
A
Hollywood
meteor
Shuffle.
subject, if you will.
Yay. I liked I liked Hollywood Shuffle. I don't think I had seen it before. I know Robert Townsend, like I said, talked about it, and I've seen the Robert Townsend um, partners in crime specials and stuff like that. But I don't, and Hollywood Shuffle has been one of those movies that have been on my list to see forever. Just never got around to it. I'm glad I did. I'm glad that I'm glad when you mentioned I want to do the Meteor Man and I forced you to do this triple feature instead, that it gave me an opportunity to watch it. I think the lasting legacy of a movie like Hollywood Shuffle is it kind of gives permission for a lot of other people who would do it better and more mainstream to talk about the problems with the disconnection between Black culture and Hollywood.
Yeah.
Hollywood Shuffle is a deeply it's a deeply inoffensive movie with 2026 hindsight.
Oh yeah, for sure. I could see. I mean, thinking back to when it came out, I could see why it would have been like noteworthy and impressive, and I don't know if importance the right word maybe, but like I can see why it would be well regarded.
It was definitely distinctive.
Yeah, and why it would have a place like in movie history. But yeah, I think those themes and things have been expanded on and maybe done better. But you can see why this was special when it came out and still is remembered.
I think if John Singleton were still with us, or like Spike Lee, like secretly at night, they're just like
he's still with us.
Who, John Singleton?
No, Spike Lee.
No, I know Spike Lee's still with us. I said, like they secretly like thank Robert Townsend. Like they can't say that out loud. They can't acknowledge him. God forbid anyone acknowledge the greatness of Robert Townsend. But deep in their $1 million mansions in heaven, they like secretly like thank you, Robert Townsend. Thank you for giving me permission to be me. So I'm glad we got a chance to talk about it. All right, The Meteor Man. This fucking movie. Robert Townsend plays.
I'll argue with you on this one.
Robert Townsend plays a pussy teacher in a school overrun by a late 80s, early 90s gang that all dress alike and have wonderfully bleached hair.
The Golden Lords.
And a meteor falls to the earth, part of which goes to one of the few Bill Cosby one of the few times Bill Cosby was in a movie at this time. Boy, could that man act with his face. But Robert Townsend gets like the mother lode of this meteor, and it infuses itself within him and gives him all manner of magic powers. And he's a pussy, so you have to understand this. He does not want to fight crime.
I prefer the term realist.
But his father is Robert Guillaume, and he's like, I was Benson, motherfucker. Get out there and save this town. And
I was Isaac Jaffe.
That's right. And then his mother was like, I was also in stuff. And so they're like, go fight the people. And he's like, I don't want to, but he does.
Protect the 227.
That's right. Shine a light on me. Shine. I remember that show. Good old 227. Anyway, never went to church though. So anyway, Robert Townsend, Meteor Man, they make him this costume. Like my favorite scene in the movie is them going through the different costumes that they make him, especially with the camera. He's like, and now I've got the evidence. Yeah. It's so dorky. Anyway, over the course of the movie, they kind of do a Superman 2 where he starts to lose his powers, and with that goes his confidence. And the gang is about tired of him interfering with their stuff, and so there's a big confrontation. And Bill Cosby comes out to help, and then the rest of the community comes out to help, and everybody finally gets together, and they stop letting the gang bully them, and they drive the gang away, and everybody wins. The Meteor Man.
Yeah. Yep. And the Riddler gets busted.
That's right. Evan, good to his mother, some language. Bevins. Esquire. Yes, third. What did you think of The Meteor Man?
I loved it then and I love it now. And I'll tell you why. Actually, I'll start off with the things that bothered me about it and why they don't ruin the movie for me.
Wonderful. It'll be like a little damn you, Hollywood.
Okay, one, his powers make no sense. Like, one of the issues I've had with Superman is, I mean, Superman can basically do anything. This guy has more powers than Superman. And so not only can he absorb knowledge from a book just by touching it, which makes for a fantastic fight scene at the bookmobile.
30 seconds, by the way.
For 30 seconds, that's right. Unless the scene requires it to be longer. So he can do that. He's got super strength. He's got eye beams. He's got telekinesis. He can fly. Somewhere along the way, he developed super speed because he needs it. And oh yeah, he can make it rain and make crops grow gigantic in an inner city garden, which is like the scene in the movie that in 1990 whatever. And still now I'm like, okay, come on, that's a bit much. But okay, and the finale, the final battle. Or not the final battle, because it lasts a while, but when he finally Meteor Man's up and beats Simon, it's not the strongest part of the movie. And then, so those things, but here's the thing. It's not about the powers and the way they work. It's almost, I don't know if a fairy tale is the right word, but it's more about him having the powers and not having the powers. It doesn't matter.
It's urban Afrocentric folklore.
There you go. Much better. So it's not about the powers making sense. Like I am going to go through and read the comic again, because the adaptation I know ends on his buddy played by Eddie Griffin going, "Hey, they found an even bigger meteor out in Arizona. Let's go get your powers back." But that's not what the movie story is about. It's about the guy, getting the confidence to stand up to people when it's right, not seeking violence, but helping, and then realizing that even if that doesn't work out, eventually somebody's got to stand up. I mean, there's this weird mix in the tone, because I mean it's rated PG, and you got the gang members that all dress alike, leading a tiger around on a leash, and it's almost, it feels kind of kid friendly, except then Robert Guillaume gets the crap beat out of him, and there's drive-by shootings, and it's not like this full-on gritty R-rated blood fest, but it's very, but it's very clear that these guys are not going to stop. This gang is not going to stop, even if he has powers and when his powers run out. So there's as goofy as some of it is, there's this underlying darkness, and there's also a lot of heart. Like, some things that might seem kind of silly or campy, it's like, hey, it really is this neighborhood coming together. This guy really does care about people. He's a teacher, and some of these little kids, it's almost played for laughs, or are in the gang and stuff, but his kindness to them really does make a difference in it. And that's what so the goofy parts are just kind of there because it needed to happen. And I just, what I wrote at the end, because there's so many back and forths, like, oh, he doesn't have powers. Oh, now he has powers. Oh, he doesn't have powers. Well, he has powers, but he lost anyway. And now he doesn't have powers. And the Riddler, Frank Gorshin's the head of the crime syndicate, they've all got him, and there's nothing they can do. Oh no, he made friends with the Bloods and the Crips. All that, like, okay, is it realistic? Is it smooth? No, but like, that's how it should be. Like, stuff happens, the world sucks, but kindness wins out in the end.
I used to watch a show called Snowfall. Snowfall was a fictionalization of how the CIA got cocaine, which got turned into crack, and how it spread throughout Los Angeles and then the rest of the world. When Snowfall started in the first season, the neighborhood of LA that the show takes place in, they went out of their way to kind of show it as being, for what it was at the time, picturesque. Like, it wasn't perfect. It had its problems. It had its criminals. It had its ne'er-do-wells returning from Vietnam. But it generally was, kids played in the street. It was, it could be a nice place to live. By the end of Snowfall, and because crack had ruined everything it touched, that same neighborhood looked like fucking Baghdad. It was just destroyed. And so much of Black stories revolve around the loss of neighborhood. Bunk says it in The Wire. We used to have us a community. Now all we have is bodies. A lot of movies, including Meteor Man, the big central thesis is we are communities that live in these places and we allow ourselves to be overwhelmed by gang violence. And whether it's the Meteor Man or Boys in the Hood or Snowfall or, name any dozens of movies, Baby Boy, name a movie that isn't directed by John Singleton. You get
Space
the same.
Jam?
There we go. Space Jam, absolutely. You get the same thing of like the exasperation of people who don't want. You get like you don't want to be viewed by the rest of the world as culturally incompetent, to where you can't manage your own community. You get exasperated by the fact that people are just won't band together and stand up to these are their sons, these are their husbands, their uncles, in some cases their daughters, their wives, grandmas, grandpas, and they're all throughout over generations involved in gang violence. And to the mind of many a Black person, they're like, enough already. Like, I'm so sick of this. I don't want to live like this. And then, this is why there's a lot of talk about this now on TikTok about how like Black people are just tired of living in, violence exposed poverty, and they're leaving. When Black people get money, white flight turned into Black flight real fast when generations of Black folks got money. Because it was like, well, if we're not gonna help each other, band together and save our towns from our own people, it's not like the gangs came from outer space. Again, these are sons and daughters and mothers and fathers and grandmas and grandpas that are part of this. These are their families. It's like, if we're not gonna band together to do anything about this, fuck it. I'll just take what I got and leave. And that's what Meteor Man is ostensibly about. That's all the shit Robert Guillaume is saying to Robert Townsend in this, is that we're, it's played for laughs and it's kind of silly. And it's very much done in that after school special, like late 80s, early 90s comedic way. But but underneath all of that, like under the surface of it, is very much, once again, another story of Black people saying, for the love of Christ, can we not live in gang violence? For once, can we actually, like, if we actually got together, and did something about this? And if you're like, you're talking crazy talk, Rattledge, even rappers back then were doing stuff like this. Like, I don't know if you know this, living in West Virginia or not, but after We All the World, and I think like Live Aid, rappers did their own, like, come together, do a song, make peace song. It's called We're All in the Same Gang. I'll give you 3 guesses as to what it was about.
Space Jam?
Correct.
Yeah.
So,
gang violence.
Yeah, it was We're All in the Same Gang. Stop killing each other, for fuck's sake. Years later, when Rampage says, when he's fighting Rashad Evans, and I think it was Memphis, this is going to be some black on black crime. There's a reason why people are like, ah! Like, we haven't already been doing that. So there's a long way to go to say that's what Meteor Man is talking about, but it's talking about in this over-the-top, fictionalized, silly way. And I think that's why it's not particularly accessible to mainstream audiences. Like, it didn't do well. I didn't look at the numbers, but I think it was kind of like in and out of theaters quickly. And
yeah,
to this day, you can't even find it. I had to go on like a pirate VHS website.
Yeah, I actually did look that up, believe it or not. Yeah, it had estimated budget of $20 million, and it grossed a little over $8 million in the US and Canada.
Yeah, so I love Robert Townsend, but Robert Townsend behind the camera is amazing. Robert Townsend in front of the camera is not a draw. And Bill Cosby, funny, it's unfortunate what we found out about him. Granted, we didn't know that at the time, so everything
in 1993, Bill Cosby showing up, like when he shows up with the dogs in the final fight, that was awesome.
Yeah, like I said,
it is not awesome now.
I am not commenting on modern day Bill Cosby or what we will find out about him, what he was doing back then. Back then, he was America's dad.
Yeah.
Back then, Bill Cosby was an icon, a legend, one of the pillars of Hollywood. And there's no getting around that. You can't erase him like people have tried to do with Chris Benoit. Bill Cosby was Bill Cosby was as American as anything else at the time. And so him showing up in lending his gravitas to Robert Townsend's movie as a bum, a mute bum only acting with his face, is fucking hilarious. One of my favorite parts of this movie is Bill Cosby just rolling his eyes and communicating and talking to the, silently and talking to the dogs. Like, you don't think about mime work when you think about Bill Cosby, but that's what he was doing. He was doing mime work.
Well, the whole cast, I mean, even though I wasn't familiar with Robert Townsend at the time, like I said, I watched it because it was a live action superhero movie and I couldn't get many of those. But I mean, Robert Guillaume, James Earl Jones, Marla Gibbs. I mean, I think 227
James Earl Jones in not a particularly role full of gravitas. He's like, he's like playing a jerk off. He's like,
he's trying on different toupees and trying to hit on women half his age.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's shown he is this guy who's scared and kind of goofy and weak, but then he stands up with everybody else. And like Marla Gibbs was on 227, like I was saying.
She was on Sesame Street before that, wasn't she?
Was she?
I feel like
no. There was another lady on 227 who was on Sesame Street. It wasn't Marla Gibbs. It was another. Where do I know
Marla Gibbs from besides 227? Hang on, let me look.
She's been in a bunch of stuff. I can only think at the moment of 227 and Meteor Man. Wasn't she on? Hang on.
Oh, she was in the Jeffersons.
That's right. Okay, I thought so.
That's where I thought I knew her from.
But I didn't want to be the guy who was like, oh, yes, that one black performer was all the black performers.
Marla Gibbs, wasn't she married to Bill Cosby on The Cosby Show? No, that's Felicia Rashad. All black women don't look alike.
Yeah. So, thanks for looking that one up. But, yeah, I mean, so there's a lot of folks who maybe this movie might not seem like they're, you might not associate them with. But, I mean, I have to assume either Robert Townsend paid really well or they were fans of his and like the message. Sinbad, who was completely unnecessary in this movie. I mean, that was another thing that I didn't really remember, but as I was watching this, I'm like, he had to have had and I felt the same way with the 5 Heartbeats that we'll talk about. He had to have had enough material for a 3.5 hour movie here. Because there's the subplot with the teacher that was his love interest until he finds out she's dating Sinbad, and that's it. She's only in 2 scenes.
Yeah,
you could have cut them out of the movie. I mean, Sinbad had a couple funny lines. This is the first black woman I've ever dated. But you could have cut him out of the movie, and it wouldn't have impacted it at all. He's nowhere near as vital to this one as he was to Necessary Roughness. Anyway. That's right, Jason. That's why I'm doing this because you did Necessary Roughness.
And Evan Bevins was burned by it. Let's close up with Meteor Man because I don't have a whole lot else to say about it. Do you have any final thoughts?
No, I recognize some of the flaws, but I just love the story. I love the optimism, but there's an edge underneath it. I think. Yeah. Oh, that's what I wanted to say is that. I don't know that I'd ever seen Roy Fagan in anything else. The guy that plays Simon, except for that extended Meteor Man yell, that dude is a great over the top villain.
Yeah, he was good.
I enjoyed him a great deal.
I like Meteor Man just fine. I might have watched this one with my kids if they had been around, but I had to watch 6 movies this week, and something had to. So we ended up with I can only watch 1 movie with my kids because it was their mom's week, but. Yeah, I like Meteor Man. It's one of those where start over again, give the script another pass through editing, and put actual cinematic draws in this movie. Get Robert Townsend out. Just let him direct. Don't have him star. Put somebody else in his place. Or in the early 90s, I don't know who that would have been.
Eddie Murphy maybe, or
Denzel Washington, and I think you might have had something. Could you imagine?
Man, I mean, nothing. Like I said, I love this movie, but oh my gosh, Denzel Washington is dang.
Yeah, I don't know if Jamie Foxx was the thing just yet.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
He's still
But
going to be Spawn one of these days, coming in on his walker. Yeah.
all right, let's get to the 5 heartbeats. So I'd never seen this one before. I really didn't even know it existed until we decided to do this triple feature, and I chose this over Baps. That's my introduction to it. It's an R&B group. They started out as nothing. They're dealing with the movie deals with the fact that, and I was talking to my son about this recently about how so much of modern music came from black music, came
Mhm.
from gospel, came from slave songs, rhythm and blues, like modern music outside of maybe country, maybe. There are elements of black music in country too, whether you like it or not. But I would
Well, now
say,
we got Shabuzi.
ugh, um, y- all outside of, like I said, like white music kind of stopped with big band, and then black music kind of took over everything. The problem with that is, so did white people kind of came back and retook it. It was kind of
Mhm.
like it was kind of like watching a basketball game where a ball gets stolen repeatedly. Um, like, and white people are going this way. Oh, and black people steal the ball and they go to and the white people steal it back and they run back the other way and they score. And now white people own music. Hooray! Um, but
So the
that's kind of,
Washington Generals were winning in that metaphor.
yes. Wow, that's a good one. You always have one good one, Evan.
Well, I'm
So
done. Take us home, Mark.
so like the 5 heartbeats are like this really great rhythm and blues band. As soon as people see them, they think they're amazing. These are geniuses ahead of their time, and they keep running up against this idea of like, yeah, let's just give your music to white people because that would be more palatable and more marketable. And they're like,
5 Horsemen.
the fuck? So there's a lot of that in the beginning, and then eventually they are able to take control of their own careers and they become popular in their own right. But this of course causes the band to have dysfunction and then break up, and there's hard feelings, and then eventually they get back to they make up,
There's
and
drugs.
there's drugs, as there
There's got
always
to be
are.
drugs.
They get back together, and then at the end, it's like it's a long, strange trip we had, and we had some good times, but it's over now, and it's time to move on. That's literally the 5 heartbeats in a nutshell. Your thoughts?
Well, I hadn't heard of it either. But yeah, I think I helped you settle on this one. Um, this movie, and I don't mean this in a negative way. It's going to sound like it, but this movie, once I heard the title and realized it was about a band, this was exactly what I imagined it would be. I mean, and that's not disparaging. Like I think it's really well done.
Hmm.
But I'm like, okay, they're gonna get together, they're gonna get famous, there's gonna be some friction, somebody's gonna get on drugs, somebody's probably gonna leave the band. I mean,
They're gonna argue over
like
who was more important to the band's music.
yeah, I mean, now it's really well done. But any movie I've watched like this, whether it's based on a true story or just takes inspiration from real life, it felt just like this. I think this one was more well done than some of them. I mean, I enjoyed
Mm.
it. I was the part where Eddie shows up at the church. Like I was like, yes, I was like, reacting out loud. I mean, I enjoyed it. I had feelings. I was happy. But yeah, nothing about this movie surprised me.
This is every movie about an R&B group you've ever seen,
Yeah,
with less famous actors, talented
Dreamgirls
actors.
with dudes.
Thank you. I'm thinking of like Dreamgirls, and I couldn't remember the name, and I'm like I got to look this up. Who's in it? Fuck, I don't remember that either.
You know who was in Dreamgirls?
Who?
Eddie Murphy,
That's right.
Oscar
Yeah,
nominee Eddie Murphy.
that is correct. Yeah, that's the problem with like the 5 heartbeats is like everything else Robert Townsend does. He works with his own people. These are a lot of these people like Robert Townsend people, and this same movie with 5 actual draws, I think does better. And
Hmm.
that's like the sad truth about Robert Townsend is he has great ideas, he has good movies. He just has the wrong people in him, unfortunately, because people that other I think now Robert Townsend movies would do well, but they would do well on streaming because it doesn't
Hmm.
matter who's in them then. You're
Yeah.
not you're on streaming. It's not about the cinematic draw. It's not about the star power. It's about getting people to stay on the app. And an overlong movie about an R&B band's ups and downs and and reflectiveness, I think gets people to sit down and watch. And it doesn't really matter if it's like the one guy from Oz and another guy from a Robert Townsend movie, et cetera, et cetera. in in the early 90s, when star power mattered and we actually had Hollywood stars, and it's the Robert Townsend and his partners in crime, who the fuck sees this other than like a handful of black people interested in this sort of thing? And maybe it does better on VHS. I don't know. I don't have those numbers. But yeah, I can see why this didn't do well in theaters.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I watched this was because you said, "Hey, we need a third movie for the Robert Townsend triple feature, or I'm never talking about Meteor Man with you ever." And but that being said, I enjoyed it. Like
Yeah.
the only like negative I had about it was like Meteor Man. I feel like he probably had 3.5 hours in this, and I mean now that's just, well, hey, if you want to get an Oscar, you can't be anything under 2.5 hours. So, or you could stream it, but like I think at that point I kind of got the impression like, no, we're not doing 2 hours. You need to keep it tight. So I think there were things that there were story elements or subplots that could have been expanded on, or that just seemed to kind of come out of nowhere. And
Robert Townsend need more collaborators to tell him no.
Well, I think too many people told him no. I think it could have got done with an extra 20 minutes somewhere.
Sure.
But yeah, this one did better than Meteor Man. $9 million budget, 8.75 million gross in U.S. and Canada. So the other thing
that's a loss, Evan.
I know, but it's not as big a loss as Meteor Man.
Oh, good.
The other thing that struck me, which has nothing to do with quality or anything else, but I am not used to seeing. I'm going to butcher his name. Hang on. Yeah. Okay. Harry Lennox. I am not used to seeing him as a young man.
Mm-hmm.
He is the elder statesman adult in the room in like everything. He was on Dollhouse. He's been, he's like, okay, can we get Obama to cameo? He reminds me of Barack Obama. I can't help it.
Yeah, I can see that.
But like, and I know I do know how time works, but it was just jarring to me. I'm like, what? Harry Lennox Jr. is one of the young guys? Like he's a hothead?
Yeah,
because usually he's
okay. Like
the
I
one.
Said, one of the crazy nuts from Oz is in this, and I was like, oh my god, he could do something other than lunatic who stabs people. That's amazing.
Which one was that?
Leon, I think it was.
Okay. Yeah, but that was just striking to me because I'm used to Harry Lennox being one guy.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think all in all, just so we can end on time because I know someone's waiting on me. I'm glad we did this. I'm glad we were able to. I'm glad two middle-aged white guys could shine a spotlight on the importance of Robert Townsend in black cinema. And
but hey, these are, I mean, these are like accessible movies. I mean, you don't feel like one of my favorite SNL sketches in recent memory was when Chadwick Boseman hosted it, and it was people coming out of the Black Panther movie. And they were doing Wakanda Forever, and talking about how great it was. And then like a couple white guys came out and did Wakanda Forever, and they're like, "Oh no!" and they're like, "What? Isn't it cool that we like a black superhero?" They're like, "Yeah, that's fine. You just can't do that. Like that's just weird." And it's like, I mean, there's like, yeah, absolutely, especially Hollywood Shuffle, but all of these tell stories that are specific to black people's experience, but like. They're all accessible. I mean,
yeah, I think they're all relatable too. Like,
yeah,
like can I relate exactly to each one of these experiences personally? No, I'm not going to try. But are there elements of them that are relatable and that I think are universal? Absolutely. So
yeah, exactly.
With that said, Evan, from March, when are you coming back? Am I done with you yet? Are we done?
You might be.
No, you'll be back March 28th. We're finally going to do Road to Perdition. Which means I
actually okay.
Book. So we're back doing comic stripped. No more of these triple features for the time being. We're going to do Road to Perdition, the book, the movie, the T-shirt. In the meantime, in between time, this past week, Robert and I reviewed Psycho Killer. It sucked. Don't bother. However, you should listen to us taking the BoJack Horseman review and turning it into the saddest country song you'll ever hear. On Thursday, myself and Jason did a Denzel Washington focus. We looked at Glory, Mo Better Blues, and John Q. This week coming up, Sunday night, myself and look at the size of this book, Evan. Look at the size, knocking things all over the place. Look at the size of it. My God, look at that. Look at it.
Oh, is that
Look
Bruce
at
Wayne
it.
Murderer?
Yeah, I'm making Jesse do Bruce Wayne Murderer this month, and then Bruce Wayne Fugitive next month.
Okay. Well, let me know when you get around to War Games because I have all 3 of those.
Oh, sweet. So we're doing that on March 1st. I gotta find time to read this entire tome.
Mark makes a note: don't do War Games.
You have to do War Games and 3 other stories. We're gonna review Scream 7, which I heard has gotten the lowest Rotten Tomato score of any Scream movie, so that's exciting. Thursday,
I feel like it has to be better than 6, but
we're doing our Oscar nominations show. That's the Oscar Best Picture show. So that's what's going on here. What's going on there?
Well, I'm on a little bit of a small hiatus. I gotta get back to writing some stuff. One of them is going to be a Missing Links installment on Meteor Man #1, which I didn't know existed until I was cataloging my comics. I thought the adaptation was the first issue, and it wasn't. So there was a whole other issue that I didn't know existed that a friend of mine hooked me up with. So I'm interested to see what happened in the issue that was apparently so inconsequential I didn't notice that I missed it.
Wonderful.
So yeah, I'll be doing that soon. Yeah, just I like to read and watch bizarre movies and comics and share my thoughts on them. And occasionally someone accidentally reads it. And so you can find that at *51.blogspot.com. And I'll be sure to, when I do that Meteor Man post, I'll be sure to link to this show so that I can bring my sizable audience to you and maybe give you a little boost, Mark. Ride my coattails a little bit.
That would be great. Superstar Evan Bevan sending me his viewers. That'd be fantastic. Well, happy Black History Month, Evan Bevins.
And also with you.
Be well, be safe, and Wakanda forever.